Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Ever since Paul Heyman's removal as Raw Executive Director and Roman Reigns returning to WWE as a heel with Paul Heyman as his manager, it's almost like there's a common factor here. SmackDown has become the much better show, mainly carried in recent months by the Reigns and Jey Uso storyline and Sasha Banks' long-term feud with Bayley. But this is all reportedly in spite of Vince McMahon ruining the show on a weekly basis. Dave Meltzer reported that Friday's episode of SmackDown was a mess and was still being worked on a few hours before it was set to go on air. This is the main reason why no matches or segments were advertised in advance. Vince McMahon only arrived at the Thunderdome to sign off on segments at 12:30 that day, where he presumably hadn't had his steak yet, as Ringside News added he tore up a lot of the episode's plans, but less than usual. Well, that's progress. Apparently the main changes were to the Roman segments and the finish to Daniel Bryan vs Sami Zayn. The original finish wasn't revealed, but Zayn ended up winning via countout on TV. According to both sites, Vince arriving late and then rewriting pretty much everything is almost the accepted general workflow now, with one Wrestling Observer source saying people don't know anything until McMahon turns up. But that has been the case almost every week of late, and it's nothing new. One member of the creative team apparently even called SmackDown in shambles backstage. This has become the increasingly normal reported behavior for McMahon over the last few years, and appears to happen to the show he's currently high on backstage. Before SmackDown, Raw had similar reports of late rewrites, some as late as when the show was even on air over the summer. Sometimes it creates a frustratingly inconsistent and incoherent product, making it very difficult to tell long-term storylines. But Vince still does have an undoubted genius insight, as SmackDown has been incredibly solid over the last 2 months. I guess the question is, could it be even better if it wasn't written on the day of the show? Whatever the answer, these last-minute rewrites have let one wrestler slip through the creative cracks. Creative Cracks, title of your wrestling pay-per-view. It's time to play everyone's favourite game, Who's That Superstar WWE was high on backstage 3 weeks ago?
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Mitch Bennett. I mean Lars Sullivan. After being out for over a year with a knee injury, Sullivan made his return in last month's draft for a few weeks of squash matches and 2 sit-down interview segments wearing a fancy polo shirt, to not be used on the last several weeks of WWE TV, even being left off the Survivor Series pre-show Battle Royal. But despite a main roster run plagued by controversies, including racist and homophobic posts he'd made on bodybuilding forums years ago, and accusations he sent inappropriate messages to a woman on Instagram just 3 days after his WWE return, Ringside News is reporting, so do take this with a pinch of salt, WWE simply aren't booking him on SmackDown right now because there is currently nothing for him. Apparently a long-time member of the creative team told the site that the Lars situation is just typical falling through the cracks, and he's fallen out of favour with Mr. McMahon. Sometimes you've got to sympathise with Vince though, I sure do. As every time he seemingly commits to a big controversial guy, they just go and get injured, like WWE's main event plans for next month's TLC. Everyone else is seeing Laurie, right? In the transitions sometimes. It's not just me, is it? The original plan for next month's TLC pay-per-view was Drew McIntyre defending his WWE Championship against Braun Strowman. So naturally, WWE booked the last 2 weeks of Raw around a #1 contenders match between Keith Lee, Matt Riddle and AJ Styles, which is now being billed as a sudden death triple threat match. Or, you know, a normal triple threat match. This is because WWE were hedging their bets. There were rumours coming out of Survivor Series that Strowman had injured his knee in the men's 5-on-5 elimination match, so he was written off TV with a kayfabe suspension for headbutting definitely not Raw General Manager Adam Pearce. That way WWE could crown a #1 contender in tonight's sudden death match, or just inexplicably make it Strowman if the medical team cleared him. The knee injury reports have now been confirmed by the Wrestling Observer though, meaning Drew will will face one of Lee, Riddle, or AJ at TLC. Who do you want to see him face for the championship? Let me know in the comments down below, where I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere saying it's probably going to be Randy Orton again. Or maybe not, because he's finally feuding with someone else. It's been reported that while the TLC card is still very much up in the air with Strowman now out injured, McMahon has 100% locked down the following matches. Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax against Asuka and Lana, Jey Uso versus Daniel Bryan, and Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. Interestingly, on the last two SmackDown matches, it might be a rare case of a WWE wrestler actually influencing the storyline. Bryan has become increasingly active on SmackDown Creative over the last year, booking his own feud with Drew Gulak and also being behind the Big E singles run. And now Dave Meltzer has hinted he's also influencing the booking of his feud with Roman's family. It's been reported for a while that Bryan is set to challenge Reigns for the WWE Championship, with TLC being the presumed show to have it on. But the Wrestling Observer is now reporting that match is scheduled for January's Royal Rumble. Instead, the feud appears to be stretched out for a better long-term story, with Bryan having to go through Roman's henchman Jey Uso first at TLC, with Roman now starting a feud with KO on Friday's episode of Talking Smack. A very similar thing happened this time last year in Bryan's feud with The Fiend, which was pushed back to the Royal Rumble by having Miz wrestle Mr. Rogers Bray Wyatt at TLC. One person who definitely won't be on any of those shows, though, is Chris Jericho, as WWE have apparently banned another reference to him on commentary. While recapping the Asuka and Lana vs Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax tag match from last Monday's Raw, the Wrestling Observer newsletter wrote Asuka hit a code breaker, which, by the way, is a term the announcers are banned from using. The double knee face breaker became Jericho's main finisher in his 2007 return to WWE, which he called the Code Breaker. But since Jericho is very much with WWE's competition right now, All Elite Wrestling, the promotion has banned referring to the move by that name. It's still part of Asuka and Ricochet's movesets, which Ricochet actually asked Jericho for permission to use back in June. Unfortunately, everything else in wrestling news today is rather sad. Devon Dudley, who currently works as a producer for WWE, has announced on his podcast that he's been dealing with some health issues. I gotta see what the doctors say, but it's been a little rough, but I've been hanging in there, doing what I can. Devon didn't reveal what the exact health issues are, but PW Insider have confirmed Dudley has missed the last several weeks of WWE TV tapings. Potentially soon-to-be free agent Ethan Page is now having to self-isolate after coming into contact with a positive COVID-19 case. This means he's had to cancel a booking for Hornswoggle's ACW Wisconsin promotion, and as Impact Wrestling have already taped the rest of the year's shows, he's actually now wrapped for 2020. Mass Lucha is reporting the serious sexual assault charges against Alberto Del Rio have been dropped, where he was arrested back in May. The woman's accusations were so serious, Del Rio was potentially facing life imprisonment. Seemingly part of the charges being dropped, the woman who accused Del Rio has posted on her Instagram, "I apologize to the Rodriguez Del Rio family for the damages caused by my errors." Former WCW star Gilbert is now out of hospital after suffering a heart attack last week. A GoFundMe has been started to help out with his medical expenses. You can find the link for that in the video description below. And indie wrestler Jimmy Rave, best known for his work with Ring of Honor and Impact in the noughties, has announced his retirement from wrestling after doctors found an infection in his left arm and had to amputate it above the elbow. A GoFundMe page has been started for Rave 2, which you can also find in the video description below. It's rough out there right now, folks, so let's end on some positive news, because just like a coming soon vignette, Renee Young has teased her Shield baby with Jon Moxley, posting the first picture of her baby bump. If it's a girl, may I suggest the name Renee Youngest? If you've got any money left at all after Black Friday, why did I buy you, slow cooker? I don't even need you. Go over to WrestleShop.com, where we've still got 20% off using the code BF20. A free WrestleTalk face mask if you spend over £40, and the WrestleTalk Essential Bundle of the hoodie, the t-shirt, and the mug for our cheapest price ever, $49.99. What are the 10 greatest one-off wrestling entrances ever? Click the video on the right for Adam Blompier's latest list. And Chris Jericho has shot on AEW Creative. Click the video below that to find out what he's got a problem with. And please visit WrestleShop.com to support WrestleTalk and get yourself some merch. Like this one. I've been Mr. Davis. Jam that jam.